Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show, Chapter 2, Murder, he wrote. Author and journalist and investigative reporter Ivor Davis was deeply embedded in the life of Charles Manson while maintaining distance from the mesmerizing pull that drew Manson's followers to him and compelled them to do his savage, unspeakable bidding. Ivor retained a cool, independent, and objective view as the case played out. And in his gripping book, Manson Exposed, a reporter's 50-year journey into madness and murder, he shares his odyssey for over a half century. Ivor meticulously pieces together the complex and crazy story, making sense of the senseless, as well as the facts surrounding one of the most savage massacres in American criminal history. His new book, The Devil and My Friend, the inside story of a Malibu murder, takes us on another fascinating journey into the world of Fred Roehler. Welcome back, Ivor.
Thank you.
Why do you think stories of murder fascinated all of us so much?
They have become very big stuff. I mean, if you go onto the streaming services, Jeremiah, you will see so many wonderful stories told in film because people, I don't know, the people who live fairly humdrum lives realize that they're lucky because they're not murderers, although they may have a murderer next door or across the road. And I was talking to the film director Joe Berlinger, who is now king of real life murder documentaries, and he is also fascinated by that. He's got another Netflix series about the Third Reich, which was run by another monster about of an earlier period. The Schicklgruber was the guy's name, I think, and he was a painter who changed his name to Adolf Hitler. Anyway, so what I find is, I mean, people are fascinated by Manson. I've just done two documentaries about Manson for Netflix and for NBC's Peacock network, and people love to talk about that. True crime is a big seller, and true crime documentaries is an even bigger attraction. Why? Because you want to try and get into the mind of the villain. With Manson, of course, it was fairly easy. He played the villain. He loved the villain. If he'd been an actor, he would have been a great villain, and he was a villain. But with Fred Roehler, he looked like Mr. Hunk. He was a good-looking guy. He was shy. He wasn't really a hail fellow, well-met guy. But I liked him in Malibu because he was just that. And this was the Malibu of the 70s and the 80s, when there were movie stars on your doorstep and you could bump into Steve McQueen or Ali McGraw or Cary Grant or any of those people because they lived in Malibu. So Fred Roehler was an anomaly in that he was low-key, ran around in a beat-up old car, wore those slogging shoes, I forget what they're called, sled shoes, and was not pretentious. And so I liked him. We got along very well. And when I got to know him really well was when he came to me and said, I've just married again, and my new wife has a stepson called Douglas, who happened to be the same age as my son, Gideon. And he said, I don't know anything about soccer, but you're the soccer coach in Malibu. Can I be your assistant coach? Well, I mean, isn't that a wonderful story? He wants to get close to his stepson. Who wouldn't cry, or who wouldn't say, of course. And Fred was a great assistant coach. He showed up every day for practicing, and we won the championship, and we had a wonderful picture done. And then, horror of horrors, sometime later, I discovered that Fred's wife and stepson Doug, who I knew so well, had died in this terrible boating accident off the coast of California, off the coast of Santa Barbara, off the coast of Ventura, Santa Cruz Island. It was horrible. The boy was dead, the wife was dead, Fred was rescued. trying desperately in a heroic effort to save them. And we were all shattered in Malibu. Believe me, the whole neighborhood was in tears. Beautiful wife, beautiful son, and Fred was the survivor. And then 2 months later, he was arrested for their murder. And I thought to myself, this is the guy I know, or I think I know, and I'm going to try and do something to show the world that he was innocent. And then I went to the trial in Santa Barbara, which lasted nearly a year. And even after the trial finished and he was convicted of murder in the first degree, I still felt he was innocent. And then I went back to his hometown with my wife, Sally, to do an investigation of this guy's life. And I was horrified because I used to see him in jail at Folsom Prison, and he was charming and he was upbeat. And I go back to his hometown and they're all negative. And they say, if there is money in it, Fred Roehler, his family were after that money. And I should explain, which I haven't done, is that the horrifying fact was that Fred Roehler stood to get $800,000, which is a lot of money, which is about 4 million in today's money, because he had insured his wife and his stepson and his young stepson for a lot of money. And he collected big time. And that's why the cops came to him. And I should add a little bit further, because the reason the cops investigated him for this accidental death, which they thought it was that a local neighbor who knew his first wife, Jean, called the cops up and said, Fred Roehler's first wife died by drowning. His second wife died by drowning. This is no coincidence. You must investigate. And investigate they did, and that's what led to the arrest. I've told the story back to front, but that's how Fred Roehler got caught out, and then the cops discovered he had all this insurance on them, and they went to trial. And they went to trial, and there was a guy called Stanley Roden, who was the brilliant district attorney in Santa Barbara, who prosecuted Fred. And I hated Stan Roden because he was prosecuting my friend, and he got a conviction. And then Fred went to prison, and then he called me from prison and said, how about writing the book that we talked about? And I said, sure, I will, Fred. And as I said, I went to his hometown and discovered that the family was detested, and nobody was surprised that Fred Roehler murdered his wife for insurance money. So when I came back and went to Folsom Prison and said to Fred, a lot of people you told me to talk to in your hometown didn't like you, and they felt you were guilty. He said, who were they? And I want to know exactly what they said. Give me a transcript. And I said, I can't tell you because these people spoke to me about you and your family in confidence, and they said, do not quote them. And so Fred said, okay, if you're not going to do that, our friendship is over. Don't come and see me in prison again. And I haven't spoken to him since then. A rather tangled, intricate story that maybe should have gone from A to B to Z more smoothly, but I apologize for jumping around. But I think that gives you a general picture, and I've gone on too long.
No. That's actually, you make me want to pick up the book right now. That all you did was just pique my curiosity. There's got to be some really great details and stories in there. I can't wait to read the whole book. Isn't it amazing? We do have to take a break real quick, Ivor, but uh, I have to admit my guilty pleasure is watching 48 Hours and Dateline and 2020 and all these murder mystery shows. I
Will
don't
you
know
tell me
why I
why?
like it.
Why are you fascinated by
I
that?
don't know.
Yeah,
I really don't know. They have a formula. I know exactly how it's going to kind of roll out. But the one thing that, excuse me, that I notice all the time, I know that they're the best people, that nobody can believe this happened. They lit up a room. They were so great. And then it slowly unravels. And it's almost always for insurance money.
yes. Well, look at
Okay.
the
Two
Murdoch
things,
case.
like if you're a murderer, they always get caught with their Google searches. They get caught at Home Depot buying a shovel and duct tape, and they on camera, and it's always for the insurance money. It's like, how haven't you watched Dateline? You know what to avoid. All right, let's take that break. IvorDavisBooks.com. Check it out. The Devil and My Friend: The Inside Story of a Malibu Murder by Ivor Davis with Sally Ogle Davis. Ivor just did a really great setup for the book. May 7th, it's coming out, but kid, pre-order now. Let's just crash Amazon today and pre-order this book. You're gonna love it. It's coming out perfect time for the beach, or city, getting caught up at the end of the springtime, into the summer. You've got a really great best-selling book on your hands here, Ivor. I think it's going to be a big hit. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Chapter 3, The Art of Being Timeless, is coming up next.